Nathanael Greene was a self-educated Quaker from Rhode Island who became one of America's greatest military strategists and George Washington's most trusted general. Nathanael Greene, the brilliant tactician of the Revolutionary War, was born in Potawatomi, Rhode Island on August 7, 1742. He came from a devout Quaker family. He had a pronounced limp from childhood. Greene's father owned an iron foundry and several mills. He was largely self-taught, reading military history and strategy by candlelight. Then in 1770, his father died and the 28-year-old Greene took over the family business, expanding their operations throughout Rhode Island. Nathanael Greene was a man who defied his pacifist upbringing. He was expelled from the Quaker meeting house for attending a military parade. In 1774, when tensions with Britain escalated in the American colonies, Greene, a successful businessman in Coventry, helped form a local militia company called the Kentish Guards. Greene studied military tactics obsessively. He devoured every book on warfare he could find. When the Continental Army formed, he was eager to serve despite his physical disability. He was passed over for officer rank in his militia unit because of his limp. He was disappointed by that rejection but remained undeterred. In 1775, Greene left his business and traveled to the siege of Boston. Within months he married Catherine Littlefield, called Katie. Katie, along with her vivacious personality, made him one of the most socially connected officers in the Continental Army. Greene was appointed Brigadier General in the Continental Army. He began to impress George Washington with his keen understanding of military logistics and strategy. America felt that Britain, its mother country, was exploiting it for taxation and not giving it the freedom that it deserved to chart its own course. Nathanael Greene was not a firebrand revolutionary at first. He was a thoughtful convert who came to believe independence was necessary through careful reasoning and study. In June 1775, Greene was commissioned as a general in the Continental Army. 1 month later, he took command of Rhode Island troops at the siege of Boston. Greene was literally the young general who rode alongside Washington, learning the art of command from the commander-in-chief himself. In March 1776, Greene's forces helped secure the American victory at Boston when the British evacuated the city. Washington moved his army to New York City, and Greene commanded forces in the defense of Long Island. But within months, Greene fell seriously ill with fever and missed the disastrous Battle of Long Island. Nathanael Greene recovered quickly and rejoined the army. He participated in the retreat through New Jersey. He always remained loyal to Washington even when other generals questioned the commander's decisions. On Christmas night 1776, Greene commanded a division in Washington's daring attack across the Delaware River. Nathanael Greene was a bold tactician when he led his troops through the frozen roads of New Jersey. He understood that surprise and mobility were essential to defeating the superior British forces. Greene's division fought brilliantly in the victories at Trenton and Princeton. But following those victories was a long, harsh winter for the Continental Army. Valley Forge tested every soldier's resolve. That cold, bleak winter they endured unimaginable hardships. Greene's leadership was all about maintaining morale and keeping the army together for another day. In 1778, Washington appointed Greene as Quartermaster General of the Continental Army. Greene was reluctant to accept this administrative position. He wanted to lead troops in battle, not manage supplies and logistics. But Washington convinced him that the army's survival depended on proper supply lines. Greene transformed the chaotic supply system into an efficient operation. He established depots, organized transportation, and ensured troops received food and equipment. Greene's genius for logistics kept the Continental Army functioning when it might have collapsed. He often used his own credit to purchase supplies when Congress failed to provide funds. In 1780, a major crisis erupted in the southern colonies. British forces under General Cornwallis had captured Charleston and were sweeping through the Carolinas. The American commander in the South, Horatio Gates, suffered a catastrophic defeat at Camden. Washington needed his best general to save the Southern campaign. He turned to Nathanael Greene. In October 1780, Greene was appointed commander of the Southern Department. He resigned as Quartermaster General despite the financial complications. When Greene arrived in Charlotte, North Carolina, he found an army in shambles. His force numbered fewer than 1,500 men, most poorly equipped and demoralized. The southern colonies seemed lost to the British cause. But Greene had a plan. Greene understood that he could not defeat Cornwallis in a conventional battle. His army was too small and too weak. Instead, he would use unconventional tactics. He would divide his forces, harass British supply lines, and exhaust the enemy through constant movement. Greene made a daring decision that contradicted all military wisdom. He split his already small army into 2 divisions. He sent Daniel Morgan with 600 men to western South Carolina. Greene took the remainder south to the PD River. Military theorists said this was madness, dividing forces in the face of a superior enemy. But Greene knew the geography of the South. He understood that Cornwallis would have to divide his own forces to pursue both American armies. This would stretch British supply lines and create opportunities for American victories. In January 1781, Morgan won a stunning victory at the Battle of Cowpens. Using double envelopment tactics, Morgan destroyed a British force under Banastre Tarleton. This victory validated Greene's strategy. Cornwallis was furious and determined to catch Morgan's army. Greene now faced his greatest challenge. He had to reunite his divided forces before Cornwallis could destroy them separately. What followed was one of the most remarkable military campaigns in American history. Greene led Cornwallis on a chase through the Carolinas that became known as the Race to the Dan. For weeks, Greene's army stayed just ahead of the pursuing British. They marched through winter rain and crossed swollen rivers. Greene personally scouted routes and organized river crossings. His attention to logistics and planning saved the army. The Americans reached the Dan River in Virginia just hours ahead of the British. Greene had boats waiting on the north bank. His entire army crossed to safety while Cornwallis watched from the opposite shore. The British general had been outmaneuvered. Cornwallis had marched his army to exhaustion chasing the Americans. He had burned his own supply wagons to move faster. Now he was deep in hostile territory with no supplies and an exhausted army. Greene had won without fighting a major battle. But Greene was not finished. Once his army rested and received reinforcements, he recrossed the Dan River. Now he would take the offensive. In March 1781, Greene fought Cornwallis at Guilford Courthouse in North Carolina. The battle was fierce and bloody. Greene's militia fought bravely before retreating. His Continental regulars held firm against British bayonet charges. Technically, Cornwallis held the field at the end of the day. But the British victory was Pyrrhic. Cornwallis lost over 500 men, nearly a quarter of his army. Greene's losses were lighter, and he withdrew in good order. A British politician later said of Guilford Courthouse that another such victory would destroy the British army. Cornwallis was forced to retreat to the coast to resupply and receive reinforcements. Greene had achieved his strategic objective. The British abandoned the Carolina interior. Greene now turned his attention to the British outposts scattered across South Carolina and Georgia. Over the next several months, Greene fought a series of battles at Hobkirk's Hill, 96, and Eutaw Springs. Greene lost most of these tactical battles. British forces held the field when fighting ended. But Greene won the strategic campaign. After each battle, British forces retreated to their coastal strongholds. Greene recaptured the interior of the southern colonies. American forces liberated town after town. By the fall of 1781, the British controlled only Charleston and Savannah. Greene had reconquered the South without winning a major battle. His strategy of exhaustion and maneuver had succeeded brilliantly. When Cornwallis moved north into Virginia, he marched into the trap that ended at Yorktown. Greene's southern campaign had made that final victory possible. Washington and the French fleet defeated Cornwallis while Greene secured the Carolinas and Georgia. In 1783, with the war over, Greene faced financial ruin. He had used his personal credit extensively to supply his army. Congress had promised to reimburse him but was slow to pay. Greene was owed thousands of pounds. He had sacrificed his fortune for his country. The state of Georgia granted Greene a confiscated Loyalist plantation called Mulberry Grove as thanks for his service. Greene moved his family south to start a new life. He hoped to restore his finances through planting. On June 19, 1786, Nathanael Greene died suddenly at Mulberry Grove. He was only 43 years old. The cause was likely heat stroke suffered while inspecting his fields. His death shocked the nation. Greene left his family in difficult financial circumstances. Katie Greene struggled for years to settle his debts and secure compensation from Congress. Eventually, Congress granted her money in recognition of her husband's service. Nathanael Greene never achieved the fame of George Washington, but military historians recognize him as one of America's greatest generals. His Southern campaign is studied as a masterpiece of strategic warfare. Greene understood that wars are not always won through battlefield victories. Sometimes the goal is simply to survive, to exhaust the enemy, to make occupation too costly to maintain. Greene pioneered the use of mobility and logistics as weapons. He understood that an army that can move faster and supply itself better can defeat a stronger force. His tactics influenced later American military doctrine. Greene's relationship with Washington was crucial to American independence. Washington trusted Greene more than any other general. When the Southern colonies seemed lost, Washington knew Greene could save them. Greene justified that faith through brilliant generalship. He was a self-taught military genius who rose from humble Quaker origins to command armies. He overcame physical disability and lack of formal training through determination and study. Greene represented the American ideal that talent and hard work matter more than birth and privilege. After his death, monuments were erected to honor Nathanael Greene. Counties and cities across America bear his name. Fort Greene in Brooklyn commemorates his defense of New York. Greene County in multiple states honors his memory. But perhaps his greatest monument is the nation he helped create. Without Greene's Southern campaign, American independence might have failed. The British might have held the Carolinas and Georgia. The war might have ended in stalemate rather than American victory. Greene's grave was lost for decades after his death. In the 19th century, his remains were rediscovered and reinterred in Johnson Square in Savannah, Georgia. A monument marks the spot where one of America's greatest generals rests. Nathanael Greene was even in death the forgotten hero who deserved to be remembered alongside the most celebrated founders of the American Republic.